What if the future of work isn't just about, smarter AI,
Mhm.
but smarter collaboration? Smarter ways humans and AI actually work together.
Exactly.
Today, we're diving into this really fascinating idea, kind of cooked up in the lab, called placebo pipes.
hmm
And it's all about making working with an AI feel less like, well, just giving orders, and more like a genuine partnership.
Yeah. Placebo pipes. It sounds a bit strange, right? Maybe even contradictory.
It does.
But the idea behind it, the core insight, is actually pretty powerful. It's about focusing on the process, how humans and AI actually work side by side.
Not just the final result.
Precisely, not just the output. And by doing that, we might unlock some surprising gains in, well, just making the whole thing work better.
Okay, so what's our mission for you, our listener, in this deep dive?
We want to explore how these pipes, these placeholders, could maybe act as a kind of shortcut to better teamwork between humans and AI.
And maybe uncover some unexpected lessons along the way.
That's the plan, what these concepts really tell us.
All right, let's get straight to it then. Placebo pipes. First off, that word, placebo,
Hmm?
it makes you think of something fake, or just for show.
Right, and that's the immediate reaction, isn't it? But here, placebo isn't really about ineffectiveness, not at all.
Oh.
Think of it more like essential scaffolding. The stuff that supports the real work happening. It's not the work itself, but it's crucial for the process.
Ah, okay. Scaffolding. I like that.
And the pipe part, we're using that symbol. The pipe is kind of shorthand. It represents these shared placeholders, these communication channels.
Shared between the human and the AI.
Exactly. A channel for shared understanding around a specific idea or task. And crucially, these aren't static things.
They change.
They're dynamic, they evolve, they're tools that the human and the AI actually build and adapt together. That's key for a real partnership.
Okay, dynamic, co-constructed tools. So let's talk about these evolving shared placeholders. Can you give us a more concrete example, like how would one actually work?
Sure. So instead of just the AI spitting out, say, a long, detailed explanation that the human then has to parse.
Which can be kind of dense sometimes.
Right. Instead, imagine both the human and the AI co-creating and constantly updating these shared placeholders. Take something like Project Milestone Pipe.
Okay.
That wouldn't just be a static date buried in a report. It becomes this sort of living symbol of the team's current understanding of that milestone.
So the human could add notes, maybe flag concerns.
Exactly. And the AI could update it with progress data, maybe potential risks it's detected. It's a simplified, shared view that both contribute to and draw from.
Okay, I see. And you mentioned another one, shared understanding pipe.
Yeah, think about tackling a really complex problem.
Yeah.
The shared understanding pipe would represent the team's evolving grasp of it. As they discuss, as the AI analyzes, as the human brings in context, that placeholder changes to reflect the deepening joint understanding.
So it's really moving away from the AI just explaining things at the human.
Yep.
And more towards a shared digital workspace where both are actively building that common ground. That feels like a big shift.
It is.
Now, how can the AI itself use these placeholders? You said it could initiate dialogue.
This is where it gets really interesting, I think. The AI can use these placeholders not just to present info, but as active, explicit invitations for the human to jump in.
Okay. How?
Well, imagine the AI is processing some data and finds inconsistencies, or maybe it lacks confidence in a certain area. Instead of just saying error or giving a confidence score.
Which can be hard to interpret sometimes.
Exactly. It could raise a data uncertainty pipe.
Ah.
And that's not just the AI saying, I'm not sure here. It's a direct signal. It's basically saying, human colleague, I've hit something tricky with the data. Can you provide context? Or maybe check this, or offer your expertise.
So it prompts the human to contribute specifically where the AI is weak.
Precisely. Or, say, the AI comes up with a potential solution, but maybe knows there are others. It could raise an alternative solution pipe. Again, not presenting it as the answer, but as a starting point. Here's one idea. What do you think? Let's explore this together.
That really flips the script, doesn't it?
It does.
It turns those moments where the AI might hit a wall or feel uncertain into an opportunity,
Yeah.
an explicit opportunity for the human to step in and add significant value.
Yeah, it reframes AI limitations as collaborative opportunities. Less about the AI needing to be perfect, more about the team solving the problem together.
I like that.
Yeah, okay.
And you also mentioned using these placeholders for joint reflection. How does that work?
So you could design specific placeholders that act as triggers for reflection, not just about the task, but about the collaboration itself.
Like a meta-level discussion.
Exactly. You could have something like a process review pipe. Maybe
Right.
the AI raises it, or the human does, or it's scheduled. And that pipe becomes the space to discuss, okay, how are we actually working together? What's going well? What could be smoother?
Interesting. So the AI participates in reviewing the teamwork.
That's the idea. Or maybe an assumption check pipe. This prompts a conversation. What underlying assumptions are we both making here? Are they still valid?
Wow.
What's really fascinating, I think, is the concept of the AI actively engaging in dialogue about the collaboration. That's a huge leap from just being a task-focused tool.
Yeah, it's not just about getting the job done, but consciously thinking about how you're getting it done together, almost like a built-in team performance review moment.
Kind of, yeah, a structured way to do it.
This feels like it connects directly to the idea of psychological safety, fostering that between the human and the AI. How do the pipes help there?
Well, psychological safety is just fundamental for any team, right? Human, AI, hybrid. It doesn't matter. You need people or entities to feel safe expressing limitations or uncertainty.
Absolutely.
Placeholders can really help here. They offer a sort of less threatening, more structured way to signal vulnerability.
How so?
If the AI hits a gap in its knowledge, instead of a blunt, I don't know, or generating nonsense,
Which can erode trust fast.
totally, it could raise a knowledge gap pipe. See how that frames it differently. It's not, I failed. It's, here's an area where we need to explore together.
Right. It makes it a shared problem.
And similarly, if a human is confused or needs more detail, they could raise a clarification needed pipe. It's less about saying, I don't understand, and perhaps feeling foolish, and more about using a standard team signal for, let's pause and get clearer on this.
So using these shared kind of neutral signals takes the personal edge off expressing uncertainty.
Exactly. It helps normalize that both the human and the AI will have gaps or need help sometimes. It makes it okay, even expected, to signal that without fear of negative judgment. It really aims to cultivate that safer space for open collaboration.
That's a really valuable aspect.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift to meta actions and these ritualized check-ins you mentioned. It sounds like the AI starts taking a more guiding role.
Yeah, potentially. Imagine more advanced AI that's not just doing tasks, but also observing the dynamics of the collaboration. If it detects, say, that the human's approach and its own analysis seem to be diverging, or maybe the team is getting bogged down, it could proactively suggest a meta action,
Like what?
like raising a strategy session pipe. Essentially, the AI is signaling, hang on, folks, I think we might need to pause the task work and have a quick huddle to realign our overall strategy here.
So the AI calls for a strategy meeting.
Potentially, yes. Or on a more regular basis, you could have simpler named pipes for routine check-ins. Like maybe every morning starts with resolving the sync-up pipe.
A daily stand-up, basically, but mediated through this pipe.
Kind of. It structures that interaction, ensures alignment happens regularly. The key idea is the AI moving beyond passive reaction to proactive intervention and structuring of the collaboration when needed.
So the AI isn't just a tool anymore, it's becoming more like a facilitator, or maybe even a team coach in some ways.
That's one way to think about it, yeah. A facilitator of the collaborative process itself, suggesting pauses, reflections, changes in direction.
Interesting. You also mentioned these placeholders helping to bridge representational gaps. What's that about?
Well, this just acknowledges a fundamental truth. Humans and AIs think differently. They represent concepts internally in vastly different ways based on our biology versus their algorithms.
Right. We don't have the same internal architecture at all.
Not even close. So the same concept, say project risk, might be understood or calculated in fundamentally different ways. This can lead to serious misunderstandings, even if you think you're talking about the same thing.
Okay, so how do pipes help?
The placeholder, the pipe, like project risk pipe, can act as a kind of translation layer. It's a shared symbol, a common reference point that both the human and the AI can point to and work with.
Even if their internal understanding or calculation of risk is totally different.
Exactly. It creates common ground. It's like agreeing on a word in a shared language, even if the dictionaries in our heads define it using different underlying logic. It helps prevent talking past each other and ensures you're aligned on the concept, despite the different cognitive pathways.
It's like building that essential shared vocabulary for the specific human AI team. Makes sense. And building on that facilitator idea, you mentioned the AI as a facilitator. managing these things.
Yeah, imagine the AI taking on the role of actually managing these placeholders for the team.
How would that look?
It could track their status,
Yeah.
Is the project milestone pipe still on track based on current data? Does the shared understanding pipe seem stuck, maybe needing more input from one side?
So monitoring the health of these communication channels.
Right. And it could provide summaries, like here's a quick summary of the discussion points captured within the process review pipe. Or it could flag things automatically, hey, this data uncertainty pipe has been open for 3 days, maybe we should prioritize resolving it.
So it actively supports and kind of streamlines the collaboration by managing these key tools.
That's the vision. It becomes an active participant in maintaining the collaborative infrastructure itself.
That really paints a picture of a much more deeply integrated, proactive role for AI in teamwork. Very different from just using a chatbot.
Very different.
But let's be realistic. You also mentioned the challenges. Making this vision a reality isn't easy, is it? What are the big hurdles?
No, it's definitely not easy. The core challenges really lie in the current, limitations of AI. Things like genuine abstract reasoning, truly understanding the nuances of collaborative intent.
Not just recognizing words, but grasping the underlying goal of the collaboration.
Exactly. And engaging in real meta communication, that ability to talk about how we're talking, to reflect on the communication process itself, that's still very difficult for AI.
So while we can design these placeholders,
Right, we can design the pipes, but the AI needs to be sophisticated enough to actually use them effectively, to know when to raise a specific pipe, how to interpret the human input within that pipe's context, how to facilitate a meaningful dialogue around it. That's a high bar.
yeah,
And there's also the risk, if you don't design these carefully, they could just become another layer of confusing jargon.
right. Instead of clarifying things, they actually make communication more opaque. You replace one problem with another.
Precisely. So the design and implementation have to be really thoughtful.
Okay, so acknowledging those challenges.
Yeah.
For our listeners, someone maybe working with AI now or expecting to soon,
Mm-hmm.
what are the practical takeaways? What are the implications of thinking about these placebo pipe ideas?
Well, even just understanding these concepts, thinking about interaction in this way, can really shift how you approach working with AI.
Oh, so?
It encourages you to maybe stop seeing it as just a one-way street. You give command, AI gives output,
Yeah.
and start seeing the potential for a more genuine dialogue. Even with today's tools, you start thinking more consciously about establishing shared understanding. How can I signal my uncertainty clearly? How can I probe the AI's uncertainty?
So it makes you a more active participant in managing the communication.
Yes. And it highlights the importance of things like psychological safety, even when your collaborator isn't human. How can we create conditions where it's okay for both sides to flag issues? Recognizing this potential for shared signals for these kinds of pipes, even if they're informal, can lead to, well, less frustrating interactions.
Definitely less frustrating.
Yeah. And hopefully more effective, more productive collaborations in the end, whatever AI tools you happen to be using.
So bringing this all together then, it really sounds like placebo pipes, despite the quirky name, are actually a pretty serious and innovative way to think about structuring, maybe even enhancing, how humans and AI can really team up.
That's the core idea, yeah. Using these dynamic shared communication tools to build better partnerships.
It really is more than just a catchy phrase.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it leaves us with a pretty provocative thought, I think.
Oh, what's that?
Well, if we can develop these kinds of shared placeholders, these meta communication strategies, these pipes, to make human AI teams work better,
Yeah.
how might these same concepts reshape all kinds of teamwork in the future, not just teams with AR?
You mean applying these ideas to purely human teams?
Exactly. Could we see teams adopting similar kinds of explicit shared pipes or signals to foster deeper understanding, manage assumptions better, and just enable more effective joint problem solving between people?
That is a powerful thought. The idea that figuring out how to work better with AI might actually teach us how to work better with each other.
It's a real possibility, isn't it? Using these structured communication tools to improve collaboration across the board.
A fascinating angle to consider. It really shows how this intersection of human and artificial intelligence keeps pushing us to rethink fundamental aspects of how we work, how we communicate, how we collaborate. Lots to chew on there.
Definitely. The exploration is really just beginning.
Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us into the world of placebo pipes.